Hello chess fans, today I'm going to go over how to beat the Smith-Morra Gambit, and that is done by accepting it. So the Smith-Morra Gambit goes with e4, c5, so for all the Sicilian players out there, d4, and c takes d4. And here there's two gambits. So first let's go over the much worse Morphy Gambit. So against the Morphy Gambit, 90%, I repeat, like almost nearly 100% of people recommend to play d6, to play e6, or to play, knight c6, whatever Sicilian you play, and then after knight takes d4, you're just in the mainline Sicilian. But I thought, why not punish white for his inaccurate move order? Here you have the very weird move, a6. And you might say, wait, how does this punish this at all? Like, aren't we just wasting a move with a6 or getting into a Najdorf? No, because after knight takes d4, knight f6, it seems like everything's okay. But after knight c3, we have e5, and we're actually in a much improved Svechnikov, let's say, because the knight doesn't have b5 to come into here. So after knight f3, which is the most common move, bishop b4, this pawn I don't think really can be captured because after castles and d5, black is too much ahead on development. White is in a lot of trouble because this pawn is hanging, and actually the funny thing is this position is already better for black. So against knight f3, a little known finesse is to go with a6 and actually punish this Morphy Gambit. And this is the best way to punish the Morphy Gambit by far. What they're supposed to do is play c3, transpose into the Smith-Morra, which we're going to go over. And you might say, why are we accepting the Smith-Morra instead of playing like what most grandmasters recommend, again, which is knight f6 to transpose into Khan. Or sorry, not the Khan, the Alpine Sicilian. Well, personally, I like to play this against the Alpine Sicilian. I like to play d5, takes, and d4. I like this variation a lot. I think that black is doing well because he's not going to get his queen kicked. The problem why we can't do that against the Alpine is because after d5 here in the Alpine, after c3 and d5, e takes, queen takes, c takes, we would have never committed c takes so early because it allows queen knight c3. And this position looks more like a Scandinavian, which, we Sicilian players don't play. So after d takes, we have to pretty much accept the gambit. So after knight takes, a lot of people, again, I'm going to say a lot of people recommend that you maybe go for knight c6, d6, and g6. And that's been the most common way to play for a while. But recently, actually, e6 is a really common idea these days to go for a Khan-like structure because the c file being open is often like used in the Khan because the queen comes to c7 and puts pressure down here and disallows the bishop from coming here. So most of your opponents will go knight f3, and here we finish the structure with a6. And actually, just a note, I'm following one of my games that I played, which I won as black against the Smith-Morra, and I think it's a really nice instructive game. So my opponent went bishop c4, and here I finished the setup with knight c6. A more common approach actually here, surprisingly, through this specific move order is to go with b5, but I feel like the easier refutation is knight c6, and after castles we're going to play this weird move knight ge7. And at first sight this may not look so logical because you're probably thinking, why are we not putting the knight on f6? That's the most natural square. The problem is that white is too quick here. If we go knight f6, we get hit by e5 and we simply have no better thing to do than go back, and then after something like knight e4 they have a huge hole on d6. We're probably losing, so we have to go knight ge7. And now if white does a normal play like queen e2, we're going to play knight g6, play d6, control e5, maybe jump a knight to e5, play bishop e7, and castle, and we're just up a pawn. So there's nothing to be said about that. But what white does to look to punish this move is to play this bishop g5 move. And after bishop g5, the main line might surprise you. The main line is f6, a very weird move. And actually, the funny thing about the main line is it's bad. The main line is actually bad because after bishop e3, white has full compensation for the pawn because black is way too underdeveloped. And that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So when I was studying the Smith-Morra, I sometimes play Smith-Morra as white. I found this really annoying line that scores incredibly good for white, and that is h6. And that's what I decided to learn and what I played this game. And so now, the funny thing is, if white goes bishop g5, you might think Smith-Morra is a gambit, right? They're going to be aggressive. Well, no. Here we play the absolutely insane g5, just going for the king, even though we are severely underdeveloped, but the position calls for it. After bishop g3, knight g6, where we had to stop e5. If we allow e5, we're going to probably lose. If they go e5 here, bishop g7, queen c7 is winning the pawn though. So here they go rook e1, and we go with another. We're just throwing one haymaker and then another haymaker. We go h5. We simply go attack the king. And this is what I like a lot. It's to attack your opponent's king. And here we're not only attacking our opponent's king, but we're also up a pawn. And the final good thing about it is that it's completely the favorite line of the engine. Completely engine supported. The engine loves this line for black. And black just goes crazy throwing punches at white. This is just a sample line. But after h3, we can just keep on absolutely annihilating our opponent with g4. And I won't go through I'll just go through the rest of the line here. Takes, knight h2 here. And black is just going all out at white's king, and white doesn't have their traditional Smith-Morra compensation. h6, bishop h4 is known to be a slight inaccuracy because of this reason. So, instead my opponent played bishop e3, and you might ask, wait, why did they go bishop g5 back to e3? Well, h6 is arguably a weakening move, as there's a lot of times when a bishop sacks on e6, and after it takes, now the light squares are weak. That's a big thought into the future, but it's true in this opening. So I played knight g6, continuing the plan. The most common move is b5, but why, if we didn't play b5 earlier, why would we play it here? It's also maybe a little bit too overcommittal. I don't like playing this early b5. So I play knight g6, and they played bishop e3. Really, what else can they do? Like, if they go into knight d4, they're simply in a bad Sicilian after like d6. They don't even have sacks here because our knight's not blocking it. So they went bishop b3. I mean, I'm not sure what they're supposed to do. But then I went bishop b7. And here you might say, okay, well, the position is equal. But the reason the position is equal is because they're going to get their knight here and maybe cause some problems. But black can always go d6, bishop d7, and maybe a bishop d8. Queen moves out of the way and trade off this knight. It's really not clear. And my 2300 rated opponent played queen e2, which is just, the engine says is a really bad move, but I mean, that's continuing with the Smith-Morra plan. The queen goes to e2, the rook goes to d1, the bishop goes to g5, the knights come out like this. This is how every Smith-Morra game is supposed to go. So I played castles, rook fd1, queen c7, and queen c7 is a minor mistake because rook c1 is coming, so you should probably just play d6 and not move the queen. But I like to play the con sometimes too, so I was familiar with this idea. And here my opponent went knight a4, which is just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Probably he should go here, which threatens knight d5. I probably have to go like d6 defending this. He goes knight d5 and, well, play occurs. But knight a4 to go to knight b6. I played b5 attacking the knight. Knight b6, rook b8, takes. And here, like, it's just, I'm up a pawn. Like, there's nothing more than that. He's traded pieces off. He has the bishop pair, but the bishop pair is not enough compensation for a full pawn. So rook ac1, queen b7, getting out of the eye of the rook. Just a nice prophylactic move. g3, pretty much he wanted to prevent the knight from coming here or here, but there's not much he could do. d6, h4 trying to attack. I bring the rook to the queen side, and here he pretty much sacked out of desperation because really if he just sits still, then I'm just going to positionally dominate him on the queen side, and I'm up a pawn. I maybe play d5 in the future. So they sacked, and played knight d4. And here, I mean, take maybe a few seconds to see if you found the move I did, because I feel like it really simplifies the position into an easy to win position that is a lot simpler than this position. So what I was afraid of is that if I go rook c7, there might be some sacks here, which don't work at all, but like after queen c7 takes, I was worried about some like queen coming in, whatever, something, blah, 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 blah. You're scared, you see ghosts. So I thought the most simple way to basically win the game is rook c4. Very nice human move. And after takes, we take on e4. Notice that if he takes here, we can take here, and we're actually attacking him. So he played queen c7, and I just went back, trading queens. And the rest of this game is pretty easy because I simply had positional destruction, and I was up a pawn, and here I just mopped up the rest of their pawns, and I managed to convert this game pretty easily. So let's skip ahead a little bit. Yeah, I was just playing this pretty well, and my opponent played all the way till mate. So where did my opponent really go wrong this game? There wasn't really much places that he went wrong, or they went wrong, sorry, other than the opening. So the opening was a Smith-Morra, which is fairly dubious. and I just went for this simple setup, which is very easy to learn and to play, and is very fun for black. If they play bishop h4, or bishop f4 is even very fun for black. Bishop e3, another alternative, is also quite fun for black. And yeah, so that's the end of today's video, guys. If you like this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about the Smith-Morra in particular, I sometimes like playing the Smith-Morra, but I thought I would give the best weapon against the Smith-Morra out there. And I also feel it's very fun for most black players because they can, attack their opponents, which is not usually what happens in the Smith-Morra. So if you have any questions, comments, or any suggestions, please remember to leave them down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.